The Quran will describe revelation, the process of revelation, and what the prophets came to do with all the people across history, is they came to make people listen. Before the prophets had anything for people to see, fundamentally they were asking people to listen. Which is why anybody who believed throughout history would say the same phrase, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. The Quran, we hear and we obey. And the Quran will also constantly make the appeal, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. Listen to it. It'll criticize people who don't listen to the words of Allah, or walk away from the Prophet ﷺ and they don't listen. Or when they listen, they don't listen carefully. It'll even criticize hypocrites who half listen, and when the Prophet is done and walking away, they say, مَاذَا قَالَ آنِفًا? What did he just say? Like they weren't really listening. So listening is a huge part of our salvation, what the faith is calling for. At the end of the day, all the Quran is, and those 23 years of the Prophet's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a messenger, what was the Quran? It was sounds. The Quran, to anybody they didn't have a book in front of them, they didn't have anything in writing, they didn't have tafsir, all they heard was sounds to be heard, that's all it was. Even the jinn, their exposure to the Quran, they say, إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا. We heard a unique Quran, a unique recital, right? We say, سَمِعْنَا مُنَادِيًا يُنَادِي لِلْإِيمَانِ أَنْ آمِنُوا بِرَبِّكُمْ فَآمَنَّا. We heard the call of a caller calling us to believe, so we believed. It's all about hearing. Now that's important to understand, because when you hear something and you think about it, it changes the way you view things. Your perception changes based on what you've heard. So if you listen to something over and over again, like for example nowadays, just as a fun example, somebody listening to Fox News radio every single day for a few hours is going to change the way they view things. So maybe when they're driving by and they see a woman in hijab or a guy with a beard or something, their view of what they see is completely different than if they were listening to something else, right? What we hear, you can call it propaganda, or you can also call it wherever you get your knowledge from, whatever you're constantly exposing your ear to, is going to affect your mind, and by affecting your mind, it'll affect your perception. The Quran describes this phenomenon. The Quran describes people that have eyes. وَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. They have eyes, لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا. They have eyes but they don't see with them. Why does the Quran say they have eyes and they don't see with them? You see, the Quran makes us listen and makes us think about simple things like the grass. That when the dead earth grows grass and grows plants, that's reminding you and me that one day we are going to be inside the dead earth and we're going to be brought back to life. So the day of judgment, the day of resurrection, the day of being brought back to life is a constant sermon every time you see something green on the earth. Every time you and I see a tree, a flower, a blade of grass, it's actually a reminder for resurrection. Our view of grass has just changed. Our view of a tree has just changed. Our perception has changed. But someone who hasn't heard this reminder, they also see grass, they also see a tree, they also see the same things we see, and they may be able to know, maybe they're a botanist or they study plants, and they can tell you a lot more scientific information about the plant. They can tell you what species of tree it is, or what area it grows in, or how old it is, and all of it. But they can't see what a believer sees. So in that sense, they're blind. They have eyes, but they just don't see. What I'm trying to get at then, if you go back, is what you hear necessarily impacts the way you see things. If you and I are not in a constant state of listening to the Quran, if we're not in a state of listening to the Quran, then we're not going to see the world the way the Quran wants us to see it. When you're out of touch with something, when you're out of touch, your opinions get rusty and over time they change. Just because you and I believe, and we've accepted the faith, and we believe in Quran as the word of Allah, that doesn't mean that those words, not constantly hitting our ears and allowing us to think about them. I'm not just saying, listen to a CD of the recitation of the Quran, which is great. You should do that, or download it on your phone, or listen to it in the car. All of that's awesome. But I'm talking about the message of the Quran going in your ears. When the message of the Quran is going in your ears regularly, it's actually impacting your view. But Allah didn't just talk about the view, al-basar. He took one more step. He said, wal-fu'ad. He said actually impassionate hearts. What Allah is saying is not only will your view change, what you are passionate about, what you get angry about, what you fall in love with, what you absolutely hate, what is it that excites you, what is it that makes you afraid, all of those emotions are going to get impacted by your view. And your view will be impacted by what you hear. So it's a three-step process: hearing, seeing, and then the emotional response, the emotional reactions that we have. Why it's important for us to have a regular relationship of listening to the reminder from the Quran. At the very least, we get something every Jumu'ah. This is something we're supposed to get like multiple times every day. That's actually the purpose of the prayer, to get another dose of the Quran. Then a few hours later, get another dose of the Quran. A few hours later, another dose of the Quran, so our views and our emotions are kept aligned.